All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today's May 2nd. I'm happy to share and be able to just have a nice discussion today regarding the pricing of property. It's a very important tool, resource that we as agents really need to be comfortable and strong when putting together a little bit of an analysis consultation for our listings. So if you go out on a presentation, it doesn't even matter if you're representing a buyer too. If you're going to meet with the buyer, you want to be able to help them understand the value of a home and the neighborhood. If you're representing a seller, we're here to try to give our opinion of value and preparing our sellers what to expect uh, to price a property, not what it's going to sell for. Again, when we do a CMA, the goal is to price a property so to drive activity. That's the way you should phrase it when you go out on your presentations. I want to price your home to drive a lot of activity so that we can get multiple offers, so that we can get a lot of activity and many buyers to come to our showings. And with the leveraging the activity, we're going to use that to drive up the price, maybe send out a best and final and a multiple counter offer to everybody to help us find and pick that best offer overall. Because it's not always about price, it's also price and terms. Okay. So um, let me elaborate on that really quick. Price and terms. Let's just say you have a home that you feel we believe is worth $800,000. Okay. And that $800,000 home drives, we price it, let's say we price it at 788,000 because we want to drive activity. We price it right below what its market value is. And we price this home 788, single family. We do open house, lots of showings coming in, and we get multiple offers. Many offers will come in below our asking price, maybe 780, maybe 770, 750, maybe even lower when there's going to be some investor offers that also come in. Then you'll have a few offers right at the asking price, maybe a few of them right a little bit above the asking price, maybe 799, 800. Great. So it's good in those situations. If you have it below market, you want to have an offer deadline. You want to have best and final counter multiple to all the top offers, maybe the top 5 or 6. And you want to be able to obviously try to find the best cash offers or the best highest down payment offers, people with a DU approval. And so we're talking about price is one thing. Okay. Let me show you where terms could really improve an offer and potentially could be lower priced than the best, highest priced offer. So let's just say one offer goes, okay, well, I'll give you seller 825,000. It's almost 50,000 above your asking price. But I need my funds to season in my bank account. So my offer actually I need 3 months to close escrow. Okay. So maybe the best priced offer is 50,000 over your asking, but you have a risk of waiting 3 months, 90-day escrow period, and that's a risk. Okay. Then you might have an $810,000 offer, something a little bit lower, but maybe they're cash. Okay. Who's to say what is a better offer? Whether 810 that's cash that can close in 10 days or waiting 90 days, potentially getting 825. What's right or wrong? It's hard to say, but some people will pick the cash offer because there's a risk of this person not getting their financing through. So that's one way to look at things. The second way to look at things is when I talk about price and terms is a buyer's offer, that same offer that's 810, for example, maybe they're not asking for any termite expense. Maybe they are paying for a little bit more of the seller's closing costs. Another way that lower offer at 810 could improve their offer is sometimes the sellers would like to remain on the property for an extra X days, 30 days, 10 days. So that buyer could offer the seller to remain in possession for 30 days after close of escrow. Some sellers will like that, having a little bit more freedom, liberty to find another home or move into their next home a little bit at a nicer, softer, slower pace. So a lot of times those ways, if I'm a seller and I need to buy a replacement property, I would love to have 30 or 60 days cushion to move out of my original home. And that may be enough for me to accept someone at 810 versus someone at 825, but they don't want me to lease back the property. They want it delivered vacant. So if someone's going to be that difficult or stubborn or insistent from upfront, they're not willing to negotiate the vacancy or lease back. That tells me that maybe this buyer is a tough buyer to work with, and they're not willing to play with my preferences as a seller. So I may choose to select a lower price for the convenience of having the ability to stay behind. And so those are just some things leverage. It makes things more complex for us as agents. So we don't like having sellers remaining on a property because there's more work after the close of escrow. There's more communication, and it's just a lot more of a uh, more difficult process when you're having to coordinate additional things after close of escrow. But at the same time, if it's our client's needs and we can try to structure it that way, great. We can do, as long as we deliver our services and we get our satisfaction of our clients, that's the end result goal. Okay. So stop right there and pause. Any questions regarding those examples that terms could make a lower priced offer win? And I've done it many, many times myself. Okay. So now that we understand that pricing a property is important, not necessarily to sell it, but just to drive the activity. But it's also important to price a property well because we as agents need to be able to do a couple of different things when we're trying to get a successful transaction. Because one, that same property that we thought was around 775 to $800,000. Okay. Even if we pick a buyer who's willing to pay $900,000, way over the market value of this property, even if they're willing to, that buyer, the question becomes, will that property even close escrow at that same price? And sure, the buyer's willingness is one thing, but secondly, there's a thing to consider, which is the appraisal. And if this buyer, which I'm assuming they're going to need financing, if they're conventional financing and they're only putting 10% or 20% down, they may struggle getting it appraised to 900,000. And if they only have that 10 to 20% only, and they're counting on that appraisal to hit 900 when all of the math and the comps that we pulled shows that it's worth only 775 to $800,000, how are they going to come up with this extra $100,000? Even if the buyer's willing to, they're not. So they're either going to have to find outside the box solutions, which I do have some, but at the end of the day, without a great experienced realtor broker, they're going to end up canceling that transaction, or they're going to ask, well, we still love the home, but we can only qualify the appraisal 820,000. So can you sell it to us at 820,000 and then we can close escrow? So a seller in that situation will either have to take a haircut, fall to a backup offer, retest the market and put it back as active, or renegotiate. And maybe there are some ways. Um, you know, I'm just here to tell you that even when you choose a way high priced offer and then and this and that, things could still fall apart, even though the seller and the buyer still want to perform at that really high price or whatever that transaction's at. So there's a lot of circumstances you should understand when going into detail on a price of a property. And it's also things that I would point forward to a seller when we discuss multiple offers and I'm reviewing each offer case by case and whether it's an FHA, for example, because FHA needs it to appraise in order for them to give 96.5% of the purchase price. Okay. So any questions? Anything you want to share or add? All right, I'm starting to share my screen. And we're here to price a property. So I'm going to teach you some things that I use, some tricks that I do on this on my MLS using the CRMLS software. And I'm also going to kind of give you a discussion regarding pricing a house versus pricing land. Okay. So one thing to keep in mind when we're doing a home, the most common methodology, and I'm going to give you the appraisal methodology, is really to use comparables. So whenever you see an appraisal report, they use what's called subject comparable number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And these are going to be similar like-kind home sales in the same neighborhood nearby. Usually the appraiser will use within a half-mile radius from the property address. And they're going to try to pick, plus or minus 100 square feet from that subject property. And they're going to try to pick a similar lot size and the same type, like a townhouse to a townhouse, a home to a home, and so on. Okay. And so an appraisal will only use comps, hopefully within the last 90 days is what they will prefer, but they can allow up to 6 months. Okay. So the banks will accept that. The whole appraisal process, the bank is relying on the actual figure, the result, the appraisal result, in order for them to give, for example, an 80-20 loan. In order to give 80%, they will use the whatever is the appraised value, not your purchase price. So whatever it appraises, they will give up to 80% of the appraisal price. That's a rule of thumb. And so what we need to do as listing agents is hopefully always is to get the appraisal to hit the purchase price or above. So that way that the buyer cannot use the appraisal as an excuse or a reason to cancel or renegotiate the deal. Okay. So now that we understand that basic understanding, let's talk about doing an analysis on land. The question becomes, well, how do I do a CMA analysis on land? And I have to tell you that there's a lot of things to factor when we look at a property, because what is the definition of a property from a tax and from a realtor perspective? It's not just what is there, it's what its potential is too. So we have to break up the value. Let's just call this total value, right? A piece of land has the land, which is called your dirt value, the land value. It has its usage and zoning. What is it a potential? What is it cities allow for this land to be used for? And really, it just comes down to some comps we can find and see, but not many people sell land, especially in Southern California, San Gabriel Valley. There's very few pieces of land, raw land left available. There's a few. There's still a lot of undeveloped parcels. So how do we price them if there's not too many sales and there's not too many comps? There's not a lot of information. And so there's a couple of ways we could do it, but it's definitely a lot trickier because you're not going to probably go through an appraisal process. So land on the unfortunate side is a very riskier type of purchase. Many banks will not offer financing for the purchase of raw vacant land. With that said, if you can't go and apply for a conventional FHA or any kind of home loan, the options are limited for capital resources wise. So therefore, when you can't obtain financing readily and easily, land value tends to be a little bit valued less because it needs usually all cash, or you're gonna have to find a private investor, or you're gonna have to find someone who's gonna give you short-term temporary loans, construction loans, type of programs where you're gonna have some high interest costs of borrowing money in order for you to get enough to build on this land, or it's going to take a year or two to develop this land. So very few lenders are willing to take this risk unless they're getting a very, very favorable 10% plus financing interest rates from you. Okay. So, so usually I would price land a little bit more attractively because it appeals to a less wide, a narrower market. Not everyone's really has the resources, the experience, the patience to go through a 2-year development project on a piece of land. So therefore, it only really just goes to investors, to builders, to experienced people who know what they're doing. So that's why land isn't worth too much, even though it might be in a high visible area. Maybe you have a high valued neighborhood. It's still not gonna sell for what the seller hopefully is gonna want. Okay, so that's one aspect on just kind of just pre-analyzing any piece of land. Then you have to look at breaking up the total value. When you look at your tax assessor's copy invoice, they give you two values when they assess taxes to your properties. One is your land value, and then your improvement value, okay, your structures. So that's a very nice way to understand that there are two values to understand. And the third value, besides land, besides structure, is its potential. Okay, so that's the X factor, the missing element. Let me explain this in one way. Let's say you have a very old San Marino property, and this San Marino only has a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 square feet, but it has a 20,000 square foot lot. Okay, in terms of structure wise, doesn't have that much structure. It's only 900 square feet, 2 bedrooms. So maybe it has a small value. The land might have a very high value because it's San Marino, it has San Marino schools, and it's a nice healthy lot size. So primarily, a buyer is going to look at this. They're going to look at it for they're going to buy it for its land value. Yes, they want that 20,000 square foot lot. They want to be able to build something much bigger and expand. So they're not going to really pay any money towards that structure. They're giving most of its consideration towards its land. And you have to factor the third factor I told you that I haven't explained to you, the X factor. This bubble right here is the potential of this San Marino parcel. And with the zoning of R1, the potential could allow them to build a single family. And given that it's over 20,000 square feet, if it's over 7,000, 6,500 square feet, guys, it should qualify for an accessory dwelling unit. So this parcel has the potential for an ADU, a second unit, and therefore it has another third potential variable that I like to add into its value when I consult the seller. I want to fight for your value. I want to sell it for the highest resale value, and I'll tell you, I'll express this, I'll share it, announce it, and advertise it this way that it has a good, very strong potential. It's not necessarily what you see, it's what you could build and have. And that's a tough job as an agent explaining potential to a client because most buyers only buy based on what they see. So a great agent, the difference between a great agent and an average agent is an agent who is able to foresee and perceive hidden value and unlocking that, expressing and advertising that to everyone else. So that's how I wanted to give a little bit of an update, difference between land and houses, because a house you can get financing. And because you can get financing, you're able to offer more. Not today, because rates are still above 6.7%. So it's still relatively more expensive than we're comfortable with. And I don't know what the Fed's going to do this week, but it's important to stay and keep a pulse what's going on economically, because that all has a driving correlation when we talk about real estate values. Yesterday, Monday, the big news that happened economically is First Republic Bank, a very major bank, one of the top 15 banks in the nation, collapsed and was forced to sell to Chase Bank. So Chase, as of yesterday, is now taking ownership or management of First Republic Bank's assets. And that's a big crush into one major bank kind of falling between the weeds and collapsing. So this is now the third bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and there was another one, Community Bank, a little bit earlier this year. So the third bank this year collapsing is reducing the amount of our normal capital resources availability. So that's limiting funds and the people's access to capital. So it doesn't help improve our economic activity in as we move towards less banks and more people moving their money into more larger institutional banks. Quite frankly, people are actually finding it much easier and better to invest their money into a treasury bond, or their savings CDs are offering better yields than a normal savings account. Or so a lot of people are finding that it's very risky, or choosing putting all your money in one bank is very risky. I just find that that news is not helping our economic situation at all. Less choices, less options. It's ultimately going to lead to less competition, and capital is still going to be expensive for the short term. Okay. So I think the pulse on the market is the Fed will raise it 25 basis points this coming month, I think this week. And hopefully that's going to be the last rate hike from the Fed. We should be holding after that and then maybe slowly reducing by the end of the year. Okay, so that's the economic update. Just letting you guys know to keep a pulse and understand. Let's get into pricing a property. So when we look at single family homes, okay, I want to give you, does anyone have any prices of property you want me to give me an address for, and I can help you with it? Because I don't mind spending this time to help you. It could be your own home or relative's home. If not, I'll pick any property on the market. And I'll start with one exercise too, because recently, before my vacation a month ago, I took on a listing appointment. The day before I was flying out to go travel overseas, I took a listing appointment. And what did I do in my listing appointment? I really wanted to get a listing before I left on vacation. And I still wanted to provide my services, because I still do my own analysis. Like I always tell you guys, I do my own homework, so I'm prepared before I do any work. Same way for you. When you go out there on the field and you talk and consult a seller, you need to be prepared and do your own homework, which means selecting your own comparables. Okay. So I'm going to pull up my CMA that I performed a month ago. And let's stack up and see my opinion on value and where we're at today. It's like a progress update. And it's kind of a nice little health check of, are my tools and resources, are my exercises, my procedure systems in place when I analyze a value, are they accurate? Is my way of thinking precise? And so we'll analyze that together. Okay. I'm trying to pull up Cloud CMA, but it seems to be slow right now. So let's take a look at what I was doing a comparison for. And this was a property in the city of Monterey Park. And I was dealing with a 2-bedroom. And I'm going to pull up realist tax too. The address is 419 Nicholson Ave, unit number L. Okay. No, not 419. It's 319. Let me see here. 321. 321. So there's a bunch of 321s. I just know it's this one right here because this is a condominium. And if you guys have any questions, ask me, stop me, or participate. Let me know what you're thinking, okay? So we have a condominium here, 2-bedroom, only 1.5 bath, 855 square feet, built in 1973. Okay. So the sellers did call me right before my vacation. I told them I would love to help them. I'm going to be out of town, but I'm going to help them get an analysis and let me know your motivation if you want to price it sooner, blah, 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 blah. If you're an agent that just goes, oh, but the realist profile says, oh, there's a real estimated AVM value of 415,000. The range is 290 to 539, which is a huge range. If you're just relying on this, you are not doing your seller justice. You're taking a very bad shortcut, relying on a computer to research your value for you. If you look at what many people do is go to Zillow and go, hey, Zillow, tell me what my home is worth. 321 Nicholson, Monterey Park. Okay. And let's just say you go into the neighbor, okay, unit number M. This Z estimate, hey, your home is worth 580,000 or a 1,208 square feet. Okay. Then if you go into a smaller unit like the one I'm dealing with, it's still pulling up. Hold on a second. Unit L, there's a Z estimate. It says none. Okay. So when you go to the MLS, there is a way to choose home values. Um, and you can see here that there's no history to show when we're on the market. Here's unit number M at 580. I'm going to try to give you another example as well. And they say this unit number C is worth 670,000. And how are they putting this to price together? They're using an algorithm, guys. And they're using some type of algorithm that's going to include some model of price per square foot. It's it's historical selling range, but what they're using is 466 per square foot. And for unit number M, they're using, let me see what they're using as a price per square foot. They're using 480 per square foot. Okay. If I did the math, guys, and I did my listing is 855 square feet. 855 times even the higher side is 480 per square foot. That gives a value of $410,000. Okay. 480 per square foot. It would also be a mistake to use the online valuation tool like Zillow to price a property. This is what the seller might see. This is what a public facing person might find online, but we can see how off they are. They're pricing my listing at 410,000. Okay. We priced this one at 518,000 eventually. And how did I come up with that? Okay. It's tough, but the one good thing when I'm exercising and using my mind, price per square foot for condominiums is very accurate because it does not account for lot size and when you're dealing with a condominium or a townhouse style, the all the value is pretty much based on the living area. Okay, plus the amenities of the community, the HOA fees, and this and this and that. So it's nice to be able to price a property well. And I'm usually, when I do it for a condominium, I'm a lot more accurate than I would be for, let's say, a normal single family that has potential, it has a lot size. So this is my PDF of the cloud CMA I performed the day before I left on vacation on February 9th, 2023. I did a little report here. And when I was going through the comps, there's two things I want to show you. There's a bunch of comps I used. But when it comes to value, let me find the page I'm looking for. So we're dealing with a 2-bed, 1.5 bath, 855 square feet. These were the comps that I used, which I'm going to copy right now. And when I priced the property, I believe I put a value of 500 to 518,000. Okay. Um, yeah, this is the same. This is my February report because I did two consultations. That's why I have two different values. In February, it was a very bad market, and I actually ended up pricing this to the seller 485 to 500. And I told them that the highest sold is 568 per square foot at that time. And I also told them there's a chance we can exceed 500,000 since nothing else is affordable. So I wanted to price it below market at 500 or less, so that way we can get above and create a pricing battle war, multiple offers situation. Okay. But after I did my analysis in April, I did another analysis with them. And when I did my second one, I found that the value I told the sellers should be around 500 to 518,000. Okay. I says I can work on a higher number because the seller told me that they did some paint and they made two different light fixtures upgrades. So I said, okay, let's try and aim for a higher goal. I don't mind pricing it anywhere from 500 to 518. And the seller told me to work for 518, the highest of the range that I told them. So we ended up going ahead, signing a listing a month ago, and worked on the photography, then the MLS and everything like that. This property came out to 518 with 2 bedroom, 855. We priced it at 605 per square foot. Okay, just to give you a feel for the inside, here's a few photos. Small living room area, not updated. It's mostly original in the cabinets and the bathrooms. They just replaced the mirror and a light fixture and painted. They changed the carpet upstairs. But there's a couple of different things that are important to keep in mind. Now, let's look at the comps that I used. Notice all of these solds back in November, December, January, and March. They all took roughly, 2 months, 2 months, 6 months, one half a month to sell. They all took a long time. What did they sell price per square foot for? 540, 560, 570, right? 560. So on average, we're looking somewhere around 560, 570 per square foot. And that, if you do the math, times that by 855 a square foot, which is what I have in this range, that only comes out to a price of 480,000, maybe 490,000. Okay. Isn't that a big difference? So why do I have the confidence or this opinion to price this condominium that's still in original shape? How did I end up pricing mine 605 per square foot? Is that what I put? Okay. I'm sorry. I priced it at, let me look at here again. 605 a square foot, almost 606. Okay. I'm trying to beat every other comp out there. And when I look at the analysis, if the market in February is this is when it was done, when the rates are still high and everything like that, it was not a good market. Their average is 558. I'm pricing at 605, and the only other one was active was 999 Valley Boulevard. They priced theirs at 617 a square foot, very high. 999 Valley. Let's go back and see what 999 Valley ended up doing. They ended up selling at 638,000. Okay. So this comp looks like it has a little bit better flooring, a little bit better paint, nicer kitchen. Okay. So this sold for 2 bedroom, 2 bath, sold for 606 square per square foot. The original price is very close to the original price, just 11,000 less. So they priced hers to sell. It ended up getting right almost what they were near, but this has a very high HOA fee. Okay. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And in any case, we know 606 was the maximum resale value price per square foot for this area. Okay. Now going into my analysis, at 500 to 518, we priced ours actually the same. Okay. 605 per square foot, 606 per square foot is where the market was maximum willing to pay. But at the same time, I'm happy to report to you we're active under contract at a much higher price. Because we priced it at this range, which is within the market reasoning, what we were able to accomplish is a multiple offer situation. And so during my vacation, me and my partner, we were able to filter all of the multiple offers received, and we got over 6 offers. Okay. Just through the first open house weekend. And in terms of price, okay, in terms of price wise, we do have above asking price. And I'm going to share with you, I still need to find out where, here we go. We ended up going with a represented buyer who submitted a very good offer to us, and they're submitting 538,000. They have a very low loan amount, which is only 35% down, and they have no appraisal contingency. They have 7 days for a lot of their periods of time investigations, and we got them to write property to be sold as is. Buyer will not ask for any repairs or credits from seller. So it's well written. We took this offer eventually after comparing it to all the multiple offers we had, and 538 a square foot divided by 855, that will amounts to a 629 per square foot resale. 629 per square foot, which is way higher than any other comp in the neighborhood. How do I know that? I'll pull up and I'll show you. If I were to price this home today, I'll put it under condominium and townhouse, and this is where I'm going to show you what I do to find comp. If I were to price this property I'm looking for really 2 bedrooms, but I'll go ahead and just do 2 to 3. And then living area was 855 square feet, so I'll go plus or minus 100, 750 to 955. I'm not looking for senior communities because those are priced differently. And I might have to increase my range. So I'm going to go 700 to 1,000 square feet. Okay. This is going 6 months back, 2 to 3 bedrooms. I can just do 3 minus. And not a senior community, 700 to 1,000 square feet. Then I want to price this in Monterey Park near Nicholson. So I can go to 321 Nicholson. Find my subject property, which is right there. And the 2 closest comps is right here, 402 Alhambra, and this 390,000, which is on Moore Avenue. Not much comps to work with, guys, right? So if there's only these 2 comps really to use, I mean, this is a totally different neighborhood right here. And down here is also a different neighborhood. But looking at the results wise, none of them had the audacity or closed anywhere near 600 a square foot. Yes or no? They're all similar sized. They're all condominium or townhouses. And in fact, when I look at some of these properties, they're actually maybe in a little bit better area, location. Except for this one. I don't know. This is probably an arm's length sale. Okay, this is a weird sale. But this one over here sold for only 455,000. It honestly doesn't look that bad. It looks pretty nice. Sold at only they gave this property away at 487 a square foot. You look at the next one, number 2. This is on Moore Avenue in Monterey Park. Another average, looking condominium, not bad. Similar neighborhood. This one sold at 396 a square foot. They gave this one away too. Okay. Very low. So 560 a square foot for this one right here. This one has high ceilings at least. So 555 for this 990 square foot one. How did I get an 850 square foot sold for the similar price? Okay. And in the not as nice of a neighborhood. This is a nicer area. So the question is really through advertising its potential and describing it. And we did the good job because we're in escrow at 538. So if you just look at the marketing, you look at our description, it really talks about the full potential. So it says a simple, spacious layout is usable, shaded front entry, sliding doors, indoor now, fully fenced, quiet and private area, close to different restaurants and amenities like Garfield Medical and the parks. And it described a little bit what has been done, which is not much. Okay. To get over asking is incredible, but we were able to do it through pricing it originally to drive activity. Okay, again, just looking at these photos and the interior is nothing incredibly special. It's all marketing. It's presenting how and Jung did a really good job at his open house, talking to everybody, and we were able to get it done. And within the first 2.5 weeks, we got the job done, just like like you see. And we got the offer in early. We just were waiting for the counter offers to come in That's why we added extra days on market. So that's where we stand. That's what we did a price on this property. And how did I really make the confidence to put it that high? It was because there was low inventory. When you have a low inventory area, like I just showed you, there's nothing available nearby, you can ask for what you want. If you're the only seller in the market, you can put whatever price you want. And because right before we pulled this listing, there was only one other home for sale, there's only one other competition. Um, I had the confidence to try aggressive pricing higher. So it worked out because of looking at what's around. What am I competing against? Okay. And if you're in a situation where you have a lot of listings nearby and you have a lot of actives, more than 7 or 8 actives nearby, then you probably have to lean a little bit on the lower side of your range that I gave out. Remember I said 500 to 518 was my range? I would have leaned, if there was a lot of actives nearby, I would have leaned closer towards 500, is what I'm telling you. So we know how to now do a CMA. Just to show you my criteria again, my criteria was using 3 or less bedrooms, not a senior community, 700 to 1,010 square feet, Monterey Park, condominium townhouse, and closed within the last 6 months. Okay, very simple criteria. When we get into pricing land, it's extremely difficult, but I'll show you what we're doing. Because when you look at land right now, take a look at what's coming soon, active and closed in the last 6 months. And instead of using a city, let's look at Los Angeles County. And then let's look at a regular lot that is not incredibly large, a normal size lot size under 7,500. And then let's pick a side of town that we want to price. So I'm gonna jump into Los Angeles County. And let's just say I'm pricing land. Does anyone have any land you want me to help you price? Okay, if not, I will show, let's do Baldwin Park slash Covina area under the 210 freeway. Okay, so now I can kind of just price land in this region of town and see what's going to pop up. Okay, so now we priced and put in, did it take my map? I'm sorry, it's not taking my map for some reason. I'm gonna do it again. Well, if I don't, I'll bring on putting the cities in, make it easier. Let me just show you when I pulled up land and I put in the comps. Look how much land we have for sale. There's about 76 pieces of land available in Los Angeles County, ranging anywhere from 2.5 million to, $30,000, $12,000 for a piece of land. So how can one piece of land be worth 2.5 versus 2.1? It's the it's honestly it's really either overpriced or is in a high-end area. But this piece of land is in Santa Monica. That's why they're asking for 2.5 million. And so you can see a couple of different things that are very common when people are trying to sell land. Number one, days on market is crazy high. People will leave their property on the market forever. You can get easily when you're pricing a piece of land, I can ask for a 2-year listing because it might take 2 years or more. Like all of these listings here, they've been on the market. Imagine working for the same seller, giving you the same weekly updates. No activity, no showings, no requests, no offers for a whole year or 2 years. Okay. So if you notice, not many people are buying pieces of land. Why? Because it takes 2 years to develop it. They got to pay more money in construction costs, and then also they got to save money aside for the holding costs. Then they have to close the escrow with cash usually, or their own private reserves. So again, if land is so great and valuable, and your client's telling you, oh, but I could build this, I could do so much with this. Well, there's a reason why you haven't done it yet. If you could have done it, why haven't you done it? But I just don't have the time. I don't have the money, or I don't have the money to do the construction for an ADU or to build a house, or it does take a lot of capital. If you're building today, let's say $300 to $400 a square foot, and you're just trying to build a $2,000 structure, 2,000 square feet, which is nice. 2,000 times even the middle of 358 per square foot, you're going to need $700,000 cash to do your construction. That's using 350 a square foot building cost for brand new. It includes your soft fees, your engineering fees, your architect, and your permits and pulling all this and that. But all inclusively, 700,000 is pretty realistic if you wanted to build a 2,000 square foot structure in most areas. So given that, pricing land is a lot different. Okay. Because when I price land and you don't have a lot of comparables to use, oftentimes I will use a backwards approach in pricing a piece of property. So I'll take any piece of property, I'll start with it, and then I know how to do a comp CMA if there was a house there, correct? We all did that exercise together. So I would take a property, look at its lot size, and here's one in Baldwin Park on Main. Okay. This has been on sale for 1,550 days, 5 years. This is commercial zoning. Okay. So it's in a close to the freeway. It actually is very attractive because it's close to the medical center. But commercial zoning would have a different approach on highest and best use. But assuming this was residential zoning, because it doesn't really matter what I'm pricing, but assuming this was residential zoning for R1, you have a normal 6,500 lot. Okay. Here is what you should do. Most cities and counties will follow a rule of thumb around 35% lot coverage for living area. So if you don't know what that means that if I'm going to go and build a piece of structure on this 65 lot size, I can safely assume that if I know it's flat land, what's called usable land, I can safely assume I can use 35% coverage. I can build 2297. Roughly 2300 is the maximum square footage I can build on this parcel, assuming it's R1 zoning. If I haven't lost you yet, okay, then I can backward approach this. Okay. So what I would do is, now that I know 2300 is the highest and best use, let's price out a 2300 structure and know what the construction cost is. 2300 times that by 350 a square foot. I'm going to need about a 805,000 construction cost. That's all inclusive of the soft and engineering fees, architect. So it's a higher amount than what we used to build for, but it's safe to be conservative, is to have a higher estimate of your expectations of cost than to go under budget. It's usually safer as an investor, because investors are the one that buy these things. It's safer to overestimate your expenses. So 805,000 is my estimate of construction. Then I have my land acquisition cost, which who knows what it is going to be. And then I can find out what the resale value would be. If this property was 300,000, for example, and I have to spend 805 on construction, can I sell a 2,200 square foot brand new house in Baldwin Park, close to the freeway, for greater than my total expense? And when you add this plus closing costs, you need to sell this over 1.2 million. Okay, because I have in here 805,000, assuming I spend 300,000 for land. That's at 1.105, and I'm going to need another $50,000 for commissions, and then I have escrow and title fees. So I need to make 1.2, hopefully 1.25 and above, in order to break even or make a small profit. It's not going to work. So that's why this is priced too high, because no one's going to pay 1.25 for Baldwin Park, even if it's a 2,200 square foot. So how do I know that? I do a backward approach. I take the same approach, look for closings for a single family in Baldwin Park, and assuming I got a 2,200 square foot living area, so I'll go to 2,000 to 2,400 and see those. I got 3 matches. All of the structures that are 2,300 to 2,100 are selling roughly $900,000 max. So this would not be a profitable area for me. If I got to sink 805 just to build it, I need to spend 100,000 or less on the land in order to make this break even or near something workable. Okay. So again, even this one that sold on Big Dalton had double the lot size. It was 17,000 here. That only got 430 per square foot. Okay, big home, big lot. It's a very attractive. Have such a large lot size for 905,000. It sold quickly too. So that is why when you do these analysis, this is a 2007 build. It's over 400 a square foot. There's not any not much available. So let's go back into vacant land. Okay. And then let's just look at Baldwin Park. There's 5 lots available in Baldwin Park. But notice how all of them are 250 and above. Okay, and this 250 was sold, but it's only a 3,000 lot size. Okay, and this is commercial zoning, so it's priced. It has a different highest and best use. So excluding commercial zonings, I have this one that's residential and this one that's residential. This one had a big 22,000 lot, and this one over here on Fraser Street has a 16,000 lot with plans. So when you do have plans, it does sell higher, or it can command a higher price because they already have the architect and soft engineering costs done. This plans allows for a 2,700 square foot house and an ADU of 500 square foot. If you took a look at what they're looking at, you have a home, existing structure. The good news is this could still probably qualify for standard financing because there's a structure and a home on there. And so someone could finance this purchase. But the bad news is they still got to save roughly 300 something plus per square foot for construction costs for 3,200. That's almost $1 million. Okay, just for construction. So that's why I'm telling you, um, pricing land is much harder because you're going to have to do so many assumptions, which is called resale value. What's the maximum square footage you can build? Then you got to price the property with very few comps, and the comps that you do have are going to vary between. You can see here, this is commercial one zoning, residential one zoning, commercial manufacturing zoning, industrial R1. So you have various types of resources available to help you with your research. It takes a lot, maybe when you price your properties, have a second set of eyes because the lot sizes are all different, and it's not easy to price a property uh when you're doing land. That's why single family, which is our bread and butter, resale homes, properties, income properties, duplex, triplex, all those stuff are very easy for us to price out because we have a lot of comps for that. Uh, anyway, that's how I kind of use my mind and thinking aloud. The process when I teach and share with you guys how I take my approach, but I give you the same approach that I did with my own listings, and I'm pleased to report the price that I offered did drive activity, and we're in under market. We're under contract. We're hopefully going to get it sold at 620, 630 a square foot something. So we will be one of the higher ones that have sold and done a good job for our client on Nicholson. Any questions? You guys have been quiet today. If not, then that's the end of the training. Does anyone have any other questions on anything related to your business or help? All right, that's it for today. I'll stop the recording. Thanks for joining.